Hello and welcome back to the Just Follow Joy podcast. My name is Ariana Joy. I'm your host and I'm a human design reader and teacher. And I'm so excited you're here today. I'm always excited you're here, but I'm particularly excited because we are talking about one of my favorite energies in the human design body graph known as Channel 360. And this is just a really fascinating channel to talk about overall, but also I have it in my chart. And if you have it defined in your chart, it's a really important energy to understand because it's going to have a very strong influence over how your design expresses itself in your life, how you express yourself in your life, and just how you live life overall. And since we have the new Gates and Channels course coming out soon, where we talk about all 64 gates and all 36 channels and so much more, I thought now would be the perfect time to dive in and talk about this so we could give you a little bit of a taste about what you will be learning. The first thing to know about Channel 360 is that it is something called a format energy. And a format energy is any channel that connects the root center to the sacral center. And I say any channel, but there are really only three in total. And they are Channel 360, Channel 5342, and Channel 952. And if you have any or all of the format channels defined in your human design chart, and by the way, it is possible to have all three, that energy or those energies are going to have a very strong hold on your energy overall. So I was saying it's going to have a very strong influence over your human design chart, and that's true. It's going to very much affect how you live your life and interact with life. And it's honestly going to be one of the most important energies of your chart, no matter what else is going on. And the reason for that is that when the sacral center and the root center are connected in a chart, this shows up as a very consistent pattern of starting and getting into things and using your life force energy in a way that works for you. So the thing about the root center is that, first off, the sacral center represents life force, vitality, work energy. And if you have a format energy, you're automatically something known as a generator or manifesting generator. So understanding how to use that life force energy is so important, and putting that in the right places and not working against it is so important for you. And then when it's connected to the root, it's going to have a very fixed pattern of how that energy shows up. So the thing about the root center is that it has this on-off pulse where it tells us to get started or stay put. And it does that through these pushes of adrenaline through our body. And when you know a format energy in your chart, you can understand the specific kind of pulse, like how that works, and then you can understand what to expect from your energy. So does it work in cycles? Does it work in these sudden unpredictable spikes of inspiration and pushes? Does it work by honing in on something and really staying with it and staying still for a really long period of time? And the important thing to know about this too is that this pattern, whatever it is for you, it's going to be very fixed. So if you try to fight against it, you're trying to fight against these pretty well-defined patterns in your energy and how you're supposed to live your life and get into flow. So we need to learn how to embrace these and just go with it. And that's how we create a lot of ease in our lives if we have a format energy in our chart. Then you can really align with your body's strongest patterns instead of creating so much friction for yourself in your life. And like any channel, Channel 360 is made up of two gates, which are each their own individual energies. And they come together to create the channel, but it's really helpful to understand them on their own first. So we have gate 3, which is called the gate of ordering in human design. And gate 3, if you knew nothing else about it, you should know that it's highly innovative. It's here to instigate change, and it usually does that through things that are brand new or have never been done before. And this means that people who have gate 3 are very much drawn to anything that looks like it holds potential for transformation, whether that's an idea, a project, starting a whole new company, starting a new thought movement, whatever. They may see these things actually without even actively looking. They're just usually the people who see them first, right? Or see that there is some nugget of potential in that thing, even though other people might have passed it over. And the thing about this energy is that because gate 3 is usually the first to try something, it's really bringing this raw idea down here in the physical realm and trying to make something tangible and usable out of it, which can be difficult at the beginning because there isn't really a lot of context for how this thing will work, or if it will even work, or even how to bring it into form right now. And that's actually why in I Ching hexagram 3, which gate 3 is based off of, is called difficulty at the beginning. There are some names in I Ching where you're like, literally, what the fuck does that mean? But this one's not one of them. This really hits the nail on the head. But luckily, this isn't a problem for gate 3 because bringing order is actually its gift. And that's why it's called ordering or ordering from chaos. It's not called like chaos, and sorry, there's nothing else you can do about it. Bummer. The thing to know about gate 3, if you have it in your chart, is that the reason you're drawn to this new innovative thing is because you are the person who can bring this into form and make a contribution with it. So if you are hitting up against these blocks, it feels rocky, it feels confusing and foggy at the beginning. What is even going on? Was this the right thing for me to be doing? Understand it's not because you're going the wrong way necessarily. Like if you are really interested in this thing, if it feels aligned, if it lights your fire, following your strategy and authority with your human design, then you have to know that this is just kind of a given because you're doing something that's so different and new and innovative. And that's just how it is with this kind of stuff. The way that I like to explain gate 3 to anyone who has it in any configuration in their chart is that you're basically like a plane. It takes the most force to get you off the ground and get going. And then once you do, you're cruising. It's really the beginning phase, the initial phase, that's going to be the hardest part. And without gate 60, it's actually particularly important for these people to wait for the right time to do that and trust that life is going to bring them the right time to act on this thing. And that's when they're going to be able to push through all that fogginess. Gate 3 can really struggle when it tries to change things or force change at the wrong time because it can kind of see this shiny thing and might not always take into consideration whether it's actually going to be worthwhile to follow it, right? So it needs to be careful that it's not just chasing change for change's sake, because otherwise, rather than bringing in this new helpful growth, it's just going to destabilize things around them. So that might be their own life, that might be other people's lives, but it will kind of be this change where you go, oh, what was the point of that, right? Because it might create this ripple effect outward where a bunch of things get transformed. But if it does, it probably won't be in the most helpful way. And then on the other hand, it could be that there's a lot of hullabaloo for nothing. And at the end of the day, you're kind of just at square one again. Then we have gate 60, which is called acceptance. Gate 60 provides the pressure to create the change, which means it's also the ability to blast through any obstacles along the way to that change. So when these people feel this pressure from the root center, it's really hard to stop them. They look like they can take on anything and any obstacles are just totally inconsequential. So they really love to break through barriers, structures, and any limitations. Like they do not like limitations. They feel that they are here to be broken through. However, Gate 60 also has a very good sense for an understanding of limitations and ultimately an acceptance of limitations because it's a very practical and realistic energy. It's a Capricorn gate, unsurprisingly, and it knows that in order to create lasting, worthwhile change, we have to make that change at the right time. And in order to do that, we have to accept the limitations of our current reality and work within those. Like we can't fight reality because that's just going to make it harder to actually bring these changes about. And that's why this gate is called acceptance. Because it's not this acceptance as in, oh, things are going to be this way forever. Nothing can change. We might as well just live with that. Gate 60 is not cool with that. It does not want to live in a world where that would be the truth. So this is actually much more of, hey, change is great, but if we really do want to make that change, like we got to be real here. Like we got to make the most of what we have. Let's use that instead of fighting it, because fighting it's not going to get us there. So we need to work within reality to make this happen. It's almost like we need to work within the system to bring the system down. And because of that, Gate 60 people, they're always going to want to break through. They're always going to want to blast through, and they're looking for that. But they really need to trust that it's only when the root center gives them this push that they have that signal to go. Like that is the sign from their soul that they're going to be able to make that shit happen, that now is the right time. And without gate 3, these people have to be particularly aware of that and really get good with the timing and trust that, because they can feel that they're missing that thing to innovate. They're missing the thing to put this energy towards. And then they can feel like all they see are these obstacles in their current reality that they are trying to break through or escape, but they like don't really know how. And so what's happening is that they want the place to put their energy to make a change, but they don't really even know what the change would be. So they can assume that no change is possible, even though they really want to create it, and feel like really stuck in doubt in the structures that they are in. And kind of think and get to that point where it's not acceptance, but really giving up. And they just have to remember that the thing to focus their bulldozer energy on, it's going to show up. They just have to wait a bit and then try to avoid bulldozing everything else along the way, because that's not going to be as effective. And then they'll just feel more stuck in where they are. And when they can wait for that thing and then wait for that push from their root center, they're going to be on point. And that is how they're going to be super effective in making change. And these two energies come together to create channel 360, which is also known as the channel of mutation. And in human design, when we say mutation or we say something is mutative, we really just mean that it's here to create change by bringing in something new. And that means that there is no better name for channel 360 because this channel carries a ton of potential for massive transformation and innovation when the time is right. So people who have channel 360 defined in their charts are very driven to create some kind of change that produces, in particular, these really big leaps in progress. Like they love seeing that big disparity between where they just were and where they're going or where they are now. And this is not just change for change's sake, of course. With Gate 60, it's very practical. So they're looking for opportunities to introduce new things that actually make a difference, right? That they can see, that are quote unquote mutating the Maya or changing our physical reality around us. Unsurprisingly, this makes for a very powerful energy that can radically transform the world on a small or a grand scale. And these people really love doing that, or seeing that that's happening in their life at least. They usually like to feel like the person who's doing it too. However, this is not supposed to be on all the time, and it's not going to be. When Gate 60 again feels that it's not ready to make a change, it's going to pull back that bulldozer energy. And actually it doesn't really pull anything back, it just isn't pushing forward. But basically as a result, people who have channel 360 can feel more unmotivated, directionless, and feel less able to break down those barriers in front of them than they usually would. Also, the entire channel, like all format energies and all of the individual circuits, of which channel 360 is both, tends towards melancholy when it's in one of these non-push times. My friend calls it a pullback. And the thing is that none of this is a problem. This is all actually very, very natural, and it's a part of the process for someone with this channel. So really, when they hit one of these low moments or these low periods, it's simply the sign from their body that they need to take a break, slow down, and stop trying to affect so much change in their environment. And honestly, even the melancholy isn't an issue. It doesn't usually feel fun to go through, but it's actually just a result of our bodies going through these biochemical processes in the root center, getting us ready for the next push. So actually this feeling, this blue feeling, is this indication that we're getting ready for that next big leap. And these in-between times, I know it kind of feels shitty to go through them, but honestly, this is the price that we pay for being innovative motherfuckers who get to see these giant leaps forward in progress. We just have to accept that there's going to be some time in between where that's not always happening. Kind of the pendulum swings to the other side. And honestly, the real problem, the only time problems really arise for someone with 360 is when they try to push through these times, because we usually want to be these movers and shakers, but we are only meant to move and shake when we feel this powerful surge from our body that says like, and go. And if we don't, we're going to feel very ineffectual. Like there are just too many obstacles to overcome. We're going to be filled with doubt. Oh my God, I can't do anything. Why do I suck? Why does life suck? Why is everything so pointless? And that can lead to a lot of disappointment, stuckness, and even depression. And oftentimes they'll say that there's like a potential for depression with the root center, and also with the format energies themselves. But really there's a potential for melancholy. And what happens, the reason why this can become depression for a lot of people, at least if we're looking at this from a human design perspective, is the fighting of the melancholy feeling. It's the fighting of the sadness or the slowness or the feeling like you're moving through sludge a little bit more today. If you just accepted that, then it wouldn't lead to the root center depression that this is like so well known for. And the harder that we try to fight this off period, unfortunately, that's when it becomes more difficult to see results, because we're just creating more resistance for ourselves. Not only are we creating more energetic resistance because what you resist persists, so we're like, I shouldn't feel this way, I don't want to feel this way, this is bad, that we are just fighting it and it's staying. Also, we're fighting the biochemical process that we need to go through to build up the next root push. So what happens is it's kind of like you're picking at a wound before it can scab. So you're like going through this low point or this in-between phase, and you're like, no, I should be working, I should be affecting something, I should feel better. And what happens is that you're like getting in the way of your body regenerating in a way. And so it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, this is going to take me longer now it's going to take me longer. And that's actually how these in-between periods get so much bigger for us, when if we just let them go through the normal process, it would be like this. For people who are not watching me, who are only listening to me, I made that a much smaller distance between my two hands just then. But basically, this is how you can really reduce the amount of time that it feels like you're in this, oh my gosh, I don't want to be here kind of period. So it's really about just stepping back, saying, okay, it's fine that I feel this way right now. I don't have to be working, leveling up, seeing quantum leaps right now. And the funny thing is that when you embrace that, when you accept that, that's exactly how you start to grease the wheels and start seeing results again, or start seeing movement again without having to spin your wheels so much. So of course, I mentioned that I also have channel 360 in my chart, and I want to tell you a little bit about my experience so you can see how this plays out in real life. So I have actually two format energies in my chart. The other one's channel 5342, the channel of maturation. But I really feel the themes of channel 360 the most strongly. I always have throughout my entire life. And this shows up for me as really loving being an agent of change. Like, I live for big, juicy leaps of progress, and I really enjoy making them happen. I want to create them, I want to see them, and I want to share them with the world at large. Because I'm a 5-1 profile, so it's a lot about universalizing this stuff. And it's an energy that I'm really grateful to have. It's helped me power through and create some awesome, new, innovative things in my life. I'm also often the person who brings people's attention to something brand new. It can also really kick my ass though, because I love moving forward, and I really have that very common habit with this channel of trying to bowl through the off periods and fight them. So I can convince myself that even though the energy isn't there, I should still be working, creating, and leveling up. But the truth is that the energy isn't there. So I'm just naturally not going to be or feel as effective as I would when I'm in an on period, because I'm not in an on period right now. I'm not supposed to be feeling that way. But as a result, I can get really discouraged because I'm not seeing this external proof that I'm moving forward. And then I feel like things are hopeless and nothing's moving forward, and what's wrong with me, and why am I not seeing the progress I want? And it must be that I'm lazy. And also, that melancholy is no joke. I can feel quite sad in between these periods of activity. And that on its own can, make someone think that there's something to fix. And actually, my friend who has emotional authority, it's so funny, the other day, she was like, so you're non-emotional, but it's kind of like you have an emotional wave too. And I was like, yes, it does feel that way sometimes, and I hate it. I'm learning to respect it, but I don't like it right now. But all of this means that I can get really in my head that there's something wrong and try to push to get out of that, try to start a new project, try to push through something even when I said I was going to take a break, trying to be as dynamic and energetic as I usually am when I am just really not feeling that. And the truth is that in reality, this whole thing that's going on right now, this in-between period, this low, if you want to call it, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. If I just let it be, it would pass and it wouldn't be a big deal. And it wouldn't even be that as unpleasant to go through it. So it's really the thinking there's something wrong that makes you resist it. And then it's the resistance that really makes it a struggle. Because in these downtimes, I'm just not going to be as effective. I'm not, and there's no problem with that. It's really the belief that I have to be effective all the time, or quantum leaping all the time, or feeling like a jar of sunshine all the time. That is the ass kicker, not the energy itself. And that's the case for you too if you have this channel. So one piece of advice is that I've really learned to, instead of seeing these off periods as these roadblocks, seeing them as just this contraction before the next very exciting on period. So the translation of that is that when I have been feeling really low and unmotivated, especially if it's been for a while, I now actually can look at that with a little bit of excitement, because it's a good thing. It means that the next explosion of expansion is near. And if I've been feeling this for quite a while, then it's like very near. And all I have to do is really just allow myself to be here now, embrace where I am, and then the energy is going to start flowing again. And I'll tell you that when I can do that, sometimes like a few weeks ago, this happened at night, and I was like, ooh, tomorrow morning, I can already tell I'm going to be so energized and so ready to go. And I actually even started feeling it that night. Like it was a switch that flipped. So don't get me wrong, I still have not mastered this by any means. This is still an energy that I'm really, really learning to work with. It is a work in progress, especially because channel 360 is, as a part of the individual circuit, it's very unpredictable, and I can't exactly know how long these in-between periods will last and when the next hit of inspiration or the next push is going to come. So sometimes I have a difficulty understanding if it's that I'm really correctly waiting this out and following my design, or if I'm just being lazy. because I have an overworking mind. I'm always like, you should be working, you should be pushing, you should be doing that. It's my Capricorn rising. But I'll tell you that either way, this has really helped me a lot, because no matter what the case is here, this allows me to settle into whatever I'm feeling right now and stop resisting it so much, which is what was slowing me down in the first place. And then things move so quickly and so easily for me. So if you have this channel, you really just have to understand that you have this energy to do amazing things, but you have to stop looking at the different phases of it as good and bad. They're all labeled as neutral. They're all just part of the process. So they're all an important part of that process. And as tough as it can feel when you're in one of those times when you're like, man, this isn't right. I don't want to do this. I don't want to feel this way. You are going to help yourself by not fighting it, by using that gate 60 acceptance, because that's how you can give your body the room it needs in order to regenerate and build up for that next powerful push. And then before you know it, you're on your way to the top of the world again. And if you have Channel 360, I'd actually really, really love to know what your experiences with it are. So how does it feel for you? What do your cycles, your in-between periods feel like? What do the surges feel like? What have you learned from it? Or what are you still learning from it, like me? I'd really love to know. Also, if you are interested in the new Gates and Channels course, that is probably going to be coming out after we publish this video, because I love to just, when I create something, I love to just get it out there, and I had inspiration for this. But as soon as we do have that go live, and if it is after we put this video out, then I'm going to put that link in the description down below so you can grab that. And I am so, so excited for this course. We've been working on it for a while. And before, we had a Gates and Channels guide that did give little snippets of information about what the gates mean, specifically to tell somebody in a reading. So basically these kind of keynote things to tell people. But I got some feedback from people that they would really love something more in depth. So we went whole hog. We updated all of the descriptions and explanations for the gates. And we have a bunch of new videos and lessons that talk about how the gates work in a human design chart, so you can understand the deeper theory with this and feel really solid with it. But also we have little excerpts of what to tell somebody in a reading, so you don't make their head spin, and you can actually give them practical guidance that they can understand, especially if they are new to human design. And for the first time, you can now buy the new updated Gates and Channels guide on its own. So if you don't want all of that extra stuff, you don't need to know the theory that deeply, but you want the explanations and you want an easy way to explain them to other people, then you can grab that. So at some point, that link will be down below. And that is it for me today. I hope this helped. As always, you rock, and I will talk to you next time.